Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Friday edition of This Is Our Talk. This is more of a chat tonight than anything else, more of a chat. We are on to something, I'll tell you that much. We certainly are on to something. You guys give me some feedback regarding the volume. That would be greatly appreciated. Due to the content of what we will be discussing, I'm going to post during the middle of a break. I'm going to post something in the chat room, an image, GIF actually, with a little bit of motion, to show you guys something from an image in the library, just an image, so that you understand where we're coming from and how that it can, when you see certain things, it can cause a lot of subjects to be a little more concrete than usual. Okay? As we have been discussing over the course of days, we've been looking at Mystery Babylon. We were in Revelation 17, Mystery Babylon. This morning we were discussing the context of birthing, the true birthing, not the process of which we go through, opening your eyes, your spiritual eye, to many great things of the Lord, that you have understanding of where you are, that you're not confused or dazed, but in fact walking truthfully. We also have been discussing the opposer of the word, Satan, how he has been dethroned from his previous position and is now here on earth, and the influences of those fallen angels, those intelligences, let's say, that are with him, right? Now, the first thing I want to mention here, and because we're going to be turning over quite a few things over the course of these discussions. Like, for instance, we have a lot of people here that do a lot of scientific research. I'm sure that is Mayor's in here. She would probably, if she were here, and some other ones of you who study celestial mechanics, no doubt once after some of these talks, you're going to have to go back to the drawing board. There's a mingling of evolution, a mingling of certain subjects to cover the true past. It's not that it was an amazing past, right? But it's causing you a lot of doubt today. I'll give you an example of some of the doubt that you do face. It's kind of the reason why there's so many doctrines in the world, first of all, is because no one doctrine has ever been proven to be, 100%. And so people can't, they always have something opposing what they initially believe, right? For example, just take something simple like the solar system, right? Many people believe that the solar system evolved over billions of years, that the earth is billions of years old. Maybe the sun is billions of years. I don't believe that. I just don't believe that. I'll tell you why. According to the model of evolution, Mercury is a problem. It is. It's a problem. According to the theory of a dynamo, Mercury and Mars is a problem. With the probes they sent out, right, you can only have a magnetic field, and it can sustain that magnetic field. This is very simple, but I'm going to show you something. A magnetic field must be sustained by an internal dynamo, which is liquid molten metal inside the earth, right? Right? Stay with me on this. Even a caveman can understand this. So then a magnetic field can only be sustained by a type of dynamo, which is why they theorize that the interior portions of the earth must be molten and other places must be molten, but Mercury is a problem. Mercury is a problem because it's way too dense. And if it's way too dense, it should have solidified a long time ago. And if it's solidified a long time ago, there's nothing moving on the inside, correct? Is that right? And if nothing is moving on the inside, there is no magnetic field. But Mercury has a very strong magnetic field. which means something is not working. Now, a lot of scientists got together and they said, well, in order for it to be molten iron, it's very dense, so it must be iron. They say, well, just introduce sulfur into the mix, which will slow down the solidification process of iron itself, but there's a problem with that too. Yes, sulfur can be introduced to maintain that iron in a liquid form a little longer, but there's a problem. You introduce sulfur into that, right? It burns out after so long. After it, the life of that formula burns out after so long. So the sulfur will actually not be effective over maybe 2, 3, 4,000 years. But it's supposed to be billions of years old. Correct? Right? See how it does not match? Even the formation of planets. They teach most of all that somehow we were in a big debris field and all of a sudden a planet is formed by the clumping of rocks together. Wrong. That doesn't work either. It just does not hold up. It does not work. It doesn't work. Right? It doesn't work whatsoever. When you know about these dynamics, and when you observe the opposite, everything they're teaching is not, it just doesn't hold up. The theory of evolution stands against the theory of evolution. Now, how can you have a theory that works against itself? You can't. Doesn't hold up. Well, the same thing has happened in our history. Right? Who can explain the giant drill bits that are found? We have images in our library. Who can explain the modern day giants that are in the world that they will not give media attention to, but they pay very handsomely to stay away from social media and things of that nature? Who can explain that? Who can explain a gentleman who is 24 feet tall? You didn't know they existed that tall, did you? Who can explain the dozens of women who are 21 feet tall? Sounds impossible, doesn't it? All of these things sound impossible until you see it with your own eyes. Right? Now, if you saw that with your own eyes, something would happen in your brain, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it? But we don't pay attention to things, do we? I'll give you another example. How about in the archaeological digs, right? Even the Sumerian stuff. When you go to Mexico and you look at that, South America, the statues, the little statues and depictions down there in South America and Africa and Asia, even Australia, North America, all the way up to Canada. Why is it that they have what looks like a watch? Now, these are civilizations all over the face of the earth with one common theme. Number one, they didn't quite look human, and all of them wear a watch. Why? The same pattern on the watch. Why do all of them have that in common? Not to bother, they don't show you the real finds. They won't show you that because it explains something so simple as called Genesis. Science couldn't make any money, and they can no longer deceive people if you found out that, yes, the fallen angels did come. And there were giants in the earth and men of renown. It would ruin the whole story if you found out there was a real race of serpents a long time ago. But of course, they didn't look like what you think they look like. But they often operated in that form. See, that would just mess everything up in the scientific realm and everything else, wouldn't it? And then the Christians and many people on the face of the earth would begin to draw near to Christ because they would begin to take the stories seriously. Right? I'll give you another example. Most people say, here's what they say. If the flood, if only Noah was kept alive, then why do we have all the races? Right? His sons do not account for all the races in the earth. That is correct. They don't. Or do they? For example, one was very dark. Right? One was very dark. Do you not know that China The first inhabitants of China were black, not Asian. Isn't that funny? They're black, not Asian. Huh. Strange. Now, who would have thought that? Probably no one, because we're steeped in this common day pride where we think we have solved it all. But what we have been doing is we have been reading propaganda from people who do not want you to believe in the Bible. You know why? Because you would break the hold on your life. If you actually believed wholeheartedly in Christ, you would undo the entire system of this world. You would see through all things, and you in turn would allow your brothers and sisters to see also. Supernatural things you'd walk through because your faith level would be so high, and you would have such a truth that you would operate in truth. And you would house God's word in truth without error. And God watches over his word to perform it. You would become too powerful. Right? So they create a type of history. And they make it interesting. They know what appeals to you, and they teach you that appealing nonsense. Right? Everybody's fascinated with pyramids. And they have many different theories over what they are. It's quite simple. Right? We know they're not tombs, because all the tombs inside the pyramids were empty. In fact, they found the writing all over the face of the earth that specifically states they were not tombs. They were only chambers. Chambers for guess who? When the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were beautiful, and, they came about, they were fair, and they were suitable, they made it with them. There's something about it. I have to tell you this. There are other texts that state no son of God who was from heaven ever touched this ground, ever. They never touched the surface of the earth, never. Never walked where mankind walked, never. Only the hybrids were able to do that. They were not. Why? Because they truly are of a different realm. And they too had to be invited through massive seduction. They could take the form of anything. But they didn't walk with mankind. Now, every single culture has a history of serpents. Every single culture has a history of serpents. Not snakes that crawl on the ground, but somehow they spoke to something that looked like snakes. Looked like a serpent. Right? There's another word for that. It's called dragon. Dragons. But what we deal with now is a brand new era. Just like the beast system has risen, there's a brand new era where people don't believe in anything in the past. They only believe in what's presented to them. And this is why the beast has power. This is why he has power. Because, see, this society today, they always say one thing, prove it. They say they're going to get their proof, but it'll come too late. They're going to see the serpents again. The Nephilim are coming back slowly, so are the giants. Slowly but surely. They're in the world, they're multiplying. Things are becoming commonplace in certain countries like China, certain places, and everything away from Western influence, they don't mind showing them. But our government will pay to have them stay hush-hush. They will. They could be in the chat room. We're talking about very big people that are very real. That you will never see them walk down the street because they're paid handsomely to stay away from the public. It's a shame people don't understand. Very big people. And it's a real thing. And they're multiplying, and they have very specific roles and jobs. Very specific roles and jobs. North Korea has quite a few of them. North Korea has special facilities just for them. So does every single nation have special facilities just for them. But what they're doing is wowing and fascinating you with these stories of things in the past that could be true, Therefore, you're never interested in what is. And your discernment is not working. Can I just say that boldly? If you had true... do you guys know what discernment is? Discernment is knowing the truth. That's what discernment is. But I know for a fact that many who profess Christ do not know the truth. They are blind as bats. And they still doubt Yeshua HaMashiach. The Lord gave us a primary focus, a shielding away from such. That's just like everybody's so excited about some type of planet called Nibiru to come close to Earth. They don't know what they're asking for. Forget the planet. Don't they know it's inhabited? Do they know what they're asking for? What they're calling for is what we read last night. We read it last night, didn't we? Now I ask you this. Why would someone look at an archaeological dig and wonder if they are from that lineage? I'll tell you why. Because they won't only show them the specimens, but they're going to show them the size of the cities. Like the cities they really find. Can you imagine a set of steps? And each step is 12 feet high. Now, who in the world would build some steps that huge? Going up to some large, unimaginably large table with chairs, with cups and bowls that look like living rooms. They don't want you to see that. No one's going to fake that. That's too much time, too much money. And it would just mess up carbon dating. And what they're doing is protecting evolution, because they don't want you to believe in a creator. It's okay that you read about the creator, but in their eyes, they never want that proven. Right? So they bedazzle you with stories of how the universe was made. It seems like when you go on these public channels, like the History Channel, Discovery Channel, Science Channel, they're always pushing evolution, always. You know why? Because that's where the funding is. See, with money, you can control history. And if one ventures outside of the propaganda from those who distribute the money, they'll be broke and die. That's what will happen. Right? So money is a control mechanism, and they teach you a false everything. Everything they teach is false because there is no evolution. They even have Christians saying, well, I believe in evolution, just not like, I don't believe in evolution at all. Number one, most of the species that exist today existed way back then. They're lying to you. Like a modern day horse also existed a long time ago. The stones with the footprints of human beings and of dinosaurs. Scientists being harassed by pterodactyl type creatures. Every so often, a specimen that was supposed to be dead for 40 million years pops back. Plant life. Popping back. These things are coming back again. They never went extinct. They were drowned out. But the remnants of them, some of them survived, just like the Bible says. There were Nephilim before the flood and also after that. Now, I know a lot of people think the Nephilim are the fallen angels. No, they're not the fallen angels. And they confuse your mind with all these stories like that show, Ancient Aliens. And it's so funny the way these guys talk. They'll say, well, and I sat and watched an episode, ladies and gentlemen, of Ancient Aliens so that I knew what to combat. Now listen to what I was laughing again. I really was laughing. No, I don't mean to say anything against the folks who do the show. Right? That's not my place to do that. But I was laughing, and let me tell you why. The one guy who has the big hair kept repeating the same phrase over and over again. Here's what he said. He said, these people said that they were angels or gods. He said they were not angels or gods. They were extraterrestrials. That's when I began to laugh. Extraterrestrial means something that's not from Earth. Right? That's what it means. Something not from Earth. Angels are not from Earth. Not one angel is from Earth. Think about it. They're not from Earth. In a technical term, you could say they are extraterrestrials. Right? Because they're not from Earth. So what they do is they mince these words. And it is so funny. They also say, well, like they often talk about this place called Pumapunku and other places. But see, I know the history behind these places. And here's the history. They found a bunch of big rocks and everything else. Some folks got together a long time ago and re-erected. They put it together scientifically like they thought it should be. And those are the images that you see on television. The places were in ruin, and common man, modern day man, put them together like they thought they should be. Do you understand what I'm saying? So when they found these sites in ruin, no gates standing up or anything else, listen to me close, it was mankind who took machinery and everything else, listen to me, I'm talking about in the common era, and they put it back together like they thought it should be. Now they're running around saying, well, how did they build this and so, and look at these perfectly cut blocks? When the fact is, the images, when they first found the place, those blocks were all over the place. Yes, they are finely cut, but there was no gate standing up or anything else. The gate that people normally see was not standing up. It was laying down. Most of the images around the world were toppled. Mankind picked the stones back up with machinery, and then they told the world to make people marvel at something they had planted in people's heads. Did they have very fascinating structures back then? Yes. But what they're trying to hide is this. King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun. And I'm telling you, what they're hiding is that a civilization much like this one existed back then. That's not fascinating. That is not fascinating. They talk about E.T. so much. You know what? How could you be an advanced alien and come to Earth? That would be the stupidest thing you could do. If I were advanced, I would not come here. Here? I wouldn't come here. That you got to be real dumb to come here. And you're so advanced, come here for what? Think about it. So that this stuff this garbage they spew is actually on the front lines to fight your faith. There have been societies like this before. Mankind has been here before. Right? They've been here before. But that's what they're trying to hide. I'll give you something else. Now, this should be, listen folks, just hear me out. A long time ago, people lived 500, 600 years, correct? Isn't that right? You know where they're hiding all the bones? They teach you, here's what they teach, because they have messed your mind up so bad. Most people think the Nephilim are people who were just 18, 20 feet tall. They couldn't get any bigger. Well, let me share this with you. Back during that time, if you lived for 500 years, the processes of growth were slowing down. So a person could have grown from the beginning of their life all the way up to 120 or 200 years. Do you know how big they would be? Did you ever think about that? You ever think about that? See, we go through a relatively quick process here because our lifespan is very short. Right? Now, there are lots of people in different places, and you may not believe this. Guess how old they are? They're about 200 years old. That kind of throws out the paradigm of the misread scripture in the Bible. Anyway, If a person lived for 900 years, then you know their biology was different. They would be growing up until a good portion of those years, and that would make them big people. Well, no wonder everything was big back then, right? Now, hear me out. Things were big back then. The Nephilim were big. Animals were big. Of course they were big. So were humans. They were big. They know this because in the 1500s and 1600s, they began to find things that gave instruction on how to use certain animals we thought were extinct to farming. They know about the minerals and things that are buried underground. Right? When they find something that shows a woman in a dress wearing a watch, right? With little shoes, and you see the wall panels up there, and people were concerned about the shiny things, and they had homes not too dissimilar from what we live in, not stone caves. You know what they do? They blow them on sight. They bury them forever. They incinerate them, is what they do. They incinerate and get rid of all evidence that will take control away from them. Because listen, if you don't know what you are to face tomorrow, you're going to turn to someone who knows more than you do. That's how they keep you. They keep you on a leash that way. They present themselves as knowing much more than you, but the Lord has revealed to you what He is. You can't prove it, therefore you're discouraged from ever speaking it. But that has nothing to do with you receiving of the Lord directly. Because when mankind sees these things again, listen, they will open up the digs to folks for their own agenda. We're going to discuss some of that tonight, because what they have been attempting to do, well, it's been usurped by that man of perdition himself. A big step is being taken. And when you see societies and kings falling apart at the seams, it's because another power is rising to take over them. Because these are, in fact, the last days. And the last days were already promised to be very confusing. And people were turned back to fables. You have a lot of Christians who are now devout followers of Zechariah Sitchin's work. That really puzzles me. Right? These folks who will look in the Bible and say, well, there's no proof to biblical things, but Zechariah Sitchin gave proof. No, he didn't. He didn't produce a living body. All he did was translate some text that somebody wrote. But by what means did they write it? They listened to the fallen angels' lies. That's what they did. They dictated what the fallen angels gave them, and fallen angels, any angel that falls, is an inherent liar. Why would you read what a fallen angel wrote when they're inherent liars? But people have turned this into their own fact. And those people in power utilize this. Right? They utilize this. Have you ever noticed that most of the finds they're finding now are things that support evolution? And then they throw you off from time to time that you may think of E.T. Never do they ever present anything that is biblical. They don't do that. They want you to believe in one or two things: true evolution and E.T. They don't want you to believe in God the Creator. They use dates that are ballooned, like 22 million years ago. Now, how can you find a mammoth, right? And you carbon date the mammoth, and the hind leg is 100 years old by carbon dating, and the foot is 2,000 years old, and the buttocks is 22 million years old, and the tusk is 90 million years old, and the chest cavity is 2,000 years old. And you have all these different dates, so guess what they do? They don't carbon date these life forms. They don't do that. They write in a best guess, and they make tons of phone calls to see where it can fit. That's just like the bones of humans. They say we're searching for the missing link. They know there is no missing link. There never was. They forged a lot of bones. The story came out and no one was interested. I couldn't believe it. They said most of the primitive bones that they found of man were faked. They were in fact primates, not man. Faked. Because man has looked like man has looked for a long time. Except for those who have different gene sets not found among life here on this earth. They know that for a fact too. Right? All the collection of skulls and everything else they hide from you. But they'll show you dinosaur bones. How can they find all these dinosaur bones, and you mean to tell me they cannot find any of the bones except dinosaurs among that rubble? They're lying. They will never permit anybody to speak about human bones found during the time of dinosaurs. In a lot of cases, even in Nebraska, there were human bones mingled in with bones from very large sea creatures. What were human bones doing underneath them? Prehistoric sea creatures, but there were human bones underneath them, some very large humans. What were they doing underneath there? They found T-Rex. Every time they find a T-Rex and they start digging in, right, they swap people out. They bring teams in to get rid of what? Human bones. What about the fossilized footprints that are in rock all over the face of the earth? They destroy them quickly. Footprints alongside dinosaur prints. And then in a lot of cases, what about a dinosaur which is fossilized with screws in the bones? Figure that one out. See, because they're full of lies. And you can't prove that one way or the other. You can't even prove a T-Rex is a T-Rex, but the one thing you can prove is that the bones are irradiated. They're radioactive. That's why they put a special coating over those bones. You don't see the real bones in a museum, right? Those are casts. The real bones are somewhere else. But you see the casts of bones, right? So there are so many lies told that people are so out of touch with what's coming. No wonder men's hearts are going to fail them for fear, for looking after those things which are coming upon the earth. Because it really will be shock and awe. Right? Shock and awe. But like I said before, if you saw with your own eyes something that is not supposed to exist, right? You would just say, no, there's no way in the world. The first thing you would do is say that, well, that's photoshopped, until it knocked on your door. It changes everything. It causes you to think. Somebody in the chat room posted a picture of a Russian. That was a Russian. That big guy was a Russian. And he had a family. And he was the shortest among his family. That's not photoshopped. We have the full film. It's a full film of that entire family we have in the library. And that guy is in it. There was also a boxer. There are a lot of underground communities with these big people in them. Big people in them. My. Now, there's a big hint in the Bible concerning Leviathan. But Leviathan is not all spiritual. Leviathan is intermingled with something in the sea. The real sea. The controlling aspect of folks. Right? The throne of many things. Even God said, though you go to the bottom of the sea, I'm going to pull you up. Though you go up into the heavens, I'll pull you down. This is what God said. In other words, he said, you can't hide from me wherever you go. There it is, Terry. That is a real individual. That's not fake, that's real. And he's the shortest of his family. That is real. And those people exist all over the world. But they're paid a lot of money to stay out of the limelight. Right? They used to parade them a long time ago. But what would you do if you saw a couple of people like that, right, walking down the street? Yes, it's real. That is absolutely real. That's absolutely real. That is not Photoshop. That's absolutely real. And he's the shortest one of his family. The shortest one. Right? In fact, there are at least 290 films of modern day folks just like that. I'm not talking about the tall, deformed individuals either, but proportioned individuals who have the same traits. Right? Some of them they're not ugly, they're beautiful people. Right? But they're paid handsomely to stay out of the limelight. There are accommodations in just about every airport for these folks, and you don't even know it. Special elevators, big cargo elevators for these folks. Right now at this point, people will say, well, no, that can't be real. Don't worry, you're going to find out. If your heart fails you, you should have stuck with the Bible. See, if you're with the Lord, you're not going to be surprised by these things. Why? He's the revealer of truth. These things won't be surprising at all. They certainly won't move you. Right? They won't move you. You will not be moved by these things. But if you didn't believe in what the Lord was saying, your heart's going to jump a couple beats. That means you have been talking about something you never believed in the first place, and then you will be exposed as one who read but did not believe, because your heart's going to give you some trouble. You're going to say, I can't deal with this. My whole paradigm is just falling apart. Right? We live in the days where the one who comes from the bottomless pit is coming topside. He's coming topside. The way is being made. You guys remember John the Baptist, right? Making straight the way of the Lord. You guys remember the prophecy of Elisha, who would turn the father back to the children, children to the father. You remember that. The same thing is happening with the Antichrist. The real one, not man's paradigm as to how they believe. Which is why we often investigate and read over and over again the structure of the beast system, not what is popular. Most people don't know there are two beasts. They don't know that. They think there is one. They have no idea about the two beasts, and they don't know it is the false prophet who is the Antichrist. The false prophet and the Antichrist is one in the same. The first beast is the system of which the false prophet or the Antichrist will sit on his throne. He is the embodiment of the leadership. The first one is the system, modeled after the dragon. Now, what's so funny, last night we stopped at a certain place, didn't we? We were talking about Babylon. You guys remember that? We're going to continue with that. But I'm going to flip-flop back and forth between the scriptures, because Babylon, that mystery Babylon, sits on the waters. But it didn't say that at first. It said she sat on the beast, right? Right? She sits atop the beast. But we read last night, it began that way, and then it says she sits on the water. And then, of course, I broke out in a conniption fit, saying, what is she doing sitting on the water? I thought she sat on the beast. So we're going to study that some more. You know why? Do you know why? Because the Antichrist sits on a throne. He sits on a throne. The Antichrist sits on a throne. He causes the world to make an image to the first beast. According to the book of Daniel, there are more than one image the people of earth make unto the beast. The people made it. He causes the world. He says he convinces the world to make an image of the first beast who had the deadly wound and was healed. I'm so glad that's in there. We haven't gone over that yet, but we will. The deadly wound that was healed. Most people used to think that was somebody getting shot in the head. It has nothing to do with the human head. Nothing to do with the human head. And that's where you have to read the Bible in truth. It has zero to do with the human head. It is not a person being shot in the head. Right? The 7 heads are the 7 mountains. And there are kings on top of those heads with crowns. All right? There are leaders over those heads. Leaders over the heads. A mountain in that context would be a nation. So think of it this way. Think of a nation who had a deadly wound and was healed. A nation that had a deadly wound and was healed. And the world marveled after the beast because they saw the nation that had the deadly wound and was healed. How does a nation get a deadly wound? Normally from war. If it had a deadly wound, then it came back. Right? If it comes back, it was never dead in the first place, but the blow it suffered surely killed it in the minds of many generations. But from the ashes, it came back again. You know what that sounds like, don't you? What does that sound like? Let's see. It will go with phoenix. What does that sound like? Anybody know? Come on, just say the key word, phoenix. Doesn't it sound like that? Where do you think it came from? My. You know the fiery bird that comes up from the ashes? You know that? Interesting, huh? Isn't that interesting? But see, you had to remember something. Last night we talked about us not looking, per se, for physical places. Don't do that. You'll miss the whole thing. Don't look for physical places, because you're about to find out the expanse of Babylon. Now I'm going to have to take you back to the book of Daniel, because many people don't know why the word Babylon is used. Why Babylon is used in the first place. I'll say this, I'm going to save you guys some trouble. If you have named a country on the face of this earth, you're already wrong. You're wrong already. You're wrong. If you've named a country on the face of the earth, you're wrong. You're just absolutely wrong. You're going to see that tonight. You'll see it tonight. I pray you'll see it tonight. I'm sure that some of you will see it because your eyes will be open to what's already been in the Bible. The problem is we have voices of other people's theories in our heads. Listen, don't follow a theory. Wait for revelation. Please don't follow a theory. Wait for revelation. Wait for revelation. Right? Listen, I can think what something is all day long, but I have no business saying it until the Lord gives me absolute revelation. And if He gives me revelation, you will not be confused when you hear it. He will never give me revelation and not give you revelation. He gives it to us all. One speaks it, the rest confirm. That's how it works. No one has to force you to confirm it. You're going to know it internally. Right? If you have to go back and see for yourself and all this other stuff, then that truth is not in you. And normally those are theories, not revelation. Revelation is when God shows you the absolute truth. Revelation is the truth. Even the book of Revelation is the truth. It is the truth. And the Bible must be discerned spiritually. What is discerning? Knowing the truth of. The Bible, you must know the truth of the Bible spiritually. I like that. I do. I like that. Mankind is twisting the minds of so many people. Right? There are so many psychological tests I could give you, certain phrases I could say to just mess everybody up. Because psychologically, everything that you hear, you now have to contend with. It permeates into your mind and thoughts and everything else. And it can block the truth. It can block the truth. Yesterday, we were reading about this woman. And we found out something. That this woman, which John saw, is a great city that reigns over the kings of the earth. It reigns over the kings of the earth. All right, that's Revelation 17:18. Before we go into Revelation 18, because we're going to examine all that stuff just like we did in 17. We're going to look into it just like we did in 17. We need to go into the book of Daniel for a minute so that we can see something. Okay, we need to see something in the book of Daniel. All right. Now there were some dreams that Daniel had. There were some dreams. Daniel had a rough time there and a very blessed time there, but Daniel was a tool of great importance. Great importance. But the image of that statue King Nebuchadnezzar had was one of the most telling things that King Nebuchadnezzar could have ever had, because it foretells of many things. It does. Number one, it foretells that Babylon has dominion over the entire face of the earth. Let me read this to you. Talking about this Babylon itself, listen. The interpretation thereof. This is Daniel chapter 2. I'm going to start at 37. Daniel chapter 2, 37. Now listen to this very closely. Thou, O king, art a king of kings. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. Now let's pause. Daniel chapter 2, verse 38. Wheresoever the children of men dwell, wherever you find men, wherever the beasts of the fields are, wherever the fowls of heaven are, God has given this to you in your hand and made you ruler over all of them. That's called the earth. So God gave King Nebuchadnezzar dominion over all the earth. Most people can't even see that because it's hidden in the language. Did you hear that? Daniel 2:38. God gave King Nebuchadnezzar dominion over the entire earth. He appointed King Nebuchadnezzar that kingdom, and that kingdom has dominion over all the earth. Are you with me? Huh? Are you with me? King Nebuchadnezzar had a dream with a statue. Daniel is telling them the interpretation. And he says, thou, O king, art king of kings. Now I hope you listen to me closely. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of heaven hath he given into thy hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. You see, most people can't even see this. My, we're going to get some context here. How about that? See, so first established fact is that what was the true reign of Babylon? It was over the whole earth. Over the whole earth. That's why in Revelation 18, listen, it says, and the woman which thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. You're beginning to understand something. See, while you were looking at a place and a nation and trying to blame evil on evil, spiritual revelation dictates something totally different. My. How many feel stumped a little bit right now? Your gears are going in your head, and you're like, hold on, wait a minute. You instantly, the knowledge from yesterday's topics that you looked up on YouTube is now fighting against this very thing in the book of Daniel. Daniel to what? I mean, it's just fighting. Now your gears are rolling, and you say, wait a minute, hold up. This just tore down a part of my paradigm here. Right? That's when a lot of people tune out. I can't hear this right now. That's going to mess up my entire everything. I just read the Word of God. Now listen, it says, we're continuing. In 39, and after these shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, listen, which shall bear rule over all the earth. What is remaining consistent here? That it has dominion and rule over all the earth. That it has rule over all the earth. That it's reigning over the earth. And it's reigning over the kings of the earth. Huh? You see that? Listen. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron, for as much as iron breaketh into pieces and subdue all things. And as iron that breaketh all these, shall it break into pieces and bruise. Now, so we have a kingdom that has rule over all the earth. And over the kings of the earth, because if it has rule over all the earth, and this is what God has declared in the kingdoms of men, and we're speaking of one in particular, Babylon, it has rule over all the earth. And inside that statue, King Nebuchadnezzar, bearing rule over all the earth, and then that rule over all the earth is maintained all the way up into the third kingdom, so the fourth kingdom also has it, until the everlasting kingdom dethrones it. That's in Daniel chapter 2. Oh, it's just so wonderful. So Babylon still has rule over all the earth. When it talks about the fourth kingdom, this is our kingdom. Because the next kingdom that comes in is the everlasting kingdom. You see that? So let me continue. 41. And whereas thou sawest the feet and toes, part of the potter's clay and part of iron, the kingdom shall be divided, but there shall be in it of the strength of iron, for as much as thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay. I have to stop you. The kingdom is going to be divided. Now, if the kingdom bears rule over all the earth, that means there are going to be two sides to this kingdom. Half the world is for it, half is against it. And sure enough, that's what we face right now. We face the same thing right now. Right now. Don't we? We face the same thing right now. This is the last kingdom. It is divided because the world is not united. Right? The world is not totally united under the same ideology, same rule of law. They're not. So this last kingdom is describing earth itself being divided. My goodness, see, thank you, Lord Jesus. This is wisdom here. This is good. 42. And as the feet and as the toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken, which it is. It really is partly strong and partly broken. Folks, I'm going to take an unscheduled break just for a moment. I'll be right back, okay? Okay, guys, we're going to do this. I'm going to take you, keep your spot here. Is anybody getting anything out of this? I pray you do. I pray you do. I pray you do. So anyway, I'm going to be back. Give me about 10 minutes. Everybody gets something to drink. I certainly do, but I have to walk a ways to get something to drink. I'm going to be right back, okay? I'm going to be right back. I need to hydrate on this one because I may get a little amped up a little bit, okay? So I'm going to come right back. Okay, you all, we are back again. We're going to continue. Time is flying too fast, isn't it? It is certainly flying too fast. Okay, so back in the book of Daniel, and I certainly hope you all are getting something from this. I certainly am. I really am. In the book of Daniel, it goes on to talk about these kingdoms. So consequently, Why was King Nebuchadnezzar the head of gold? Listen, it says in Daniel 2:37, I need to point this out. Thou, O king, art a king of kings, for the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power, strength, and glory. Right? He gave him dominion over everything. But why King Nebuchadnezzar? Why him? And why was he the head of gold and all the other kingdoms were inferior? Notice Daniel did not say, you're a good kingdom. That's not what Daniel said. And we know that Babylon, during King Nebuchadnezzar was ruthless. But he did one thing that this fourth kingdom will never do. You know what he did? Do you know what he did? King Nebuchadnezzar actually worshipped a deity that he truly believed was a deity. And he did so and had the people do it too. He did not sneak and hide and manipulate the people into worshiping something he didn't believe himself. So King Nebuchadnezzar actually imposed upon the people things he actually believed. And then when he recognized God, he had everybody else recognize God. Do you know that? So he was far different than any other leader of these modern-day kingdoms because they're sneaky now. You don't know what they believe in. King Nebuchadnezzar also didn't lie. His decrees were straightforward. He didn't lie. If he said it, he would do it. And whatsoever he did, he'd already said it. And if he said something, you better look out, he's going to do it. He would not retract away from his word. So it's a little different than, right? He was the head of gold. All the other kingdoms were inferior to him. Now we are dealing with the fourth kingdom. The fourth kingdom. Partly strong, partly weak. Now keep in mind this fourth kingdom also is the kingdom that had to deal with Christ, who came to do what? Cause division. He said, think I have come to make peace? I have not. The fourth kingdom is us, because the everlasting kingdom is next. And that time went forward when Christ died on the cross. Look at the fourth kingdom. 42. And as toes of the feet were part of iron and part of clay, so the kingdom shall be partly strong and partly broken. Now, partly strong and partly broken, what does that mean? You ready? What does that mean, partly strong and partly broken? We are partly strong and partly broken. I find it interesting that iron and clay is used. We're not talking about hybrids here, but our modern day society. We have computers that hold lots of data. We have machines and everything else in this society. We have people of integrity who uphold moral things. Then we have the other half, the human factor that worships itself. Right? The error of saying there is no God. King Nebuchadnezzar did not say there is no God. This generation does. This kingdom has said in their hearts there is no God. It's a great weakness. King Nebuchadnezzar was not a righteous person, but he was strong. The weakness in this context is what? Man's denial of a creator, thus they become a creator themselves. See, in the fourth kingdom, mankind has become a creator. In the fourth kingdom, they have become a creator. In all the other kingdoms, even if you go back in history, they believed in a creator. Only in the fourth kingdom did man believe in himself, that he, in fact, creates. And thus he goes forward creating. 43, and whereas thou sawest the iron mixed with miry clay, they shall mingle themselves with the seed of men, but they shall not cleave one to another. Who are these they? They are the ones that have mingled in with men, causing a great weakness. They plant the ideas that man himself is God. Who were the they? The disembodied spirits of the Nephilim and the rest of the sons of God that fell and lost their position with Satan. And what have they been doing? They've been teaching mankind that mankind is the creator. They've been teaching mankind they don't need God. That's what they've been doing. And so mankind is making all these decisions not based upon the creator, not based on truth, but based upon mankind. And when they do so, they are in great and grave error, which gives Satan room to rise, because Satan is also part of this kingdom. See, it's the last kingdom before the everlasting kingdom. It is the beast. The fourth kingdom is the beast. That's what the fourth kingdom is, the beast. Let's continue to read. 44. And in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. That's our Lord and Savior. I love it. That almost made me pound the desk. Because with Christ, he set up an everlasting kingdom that will never, ever be destroyed. This is Daniel 2:44. And in the days of these kings, what kings? The kings in the fourth kingdom. Notice it's more than one. So we're not talking about one nation, are we? So then kingdom in this context is the rule of man over the earth in a given time. And it says, 44, Daniel 2:44, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom which shall never be destroyed. And the kingdom shall not be left to other people, but it shall break in pieces and consume all these kingdoms, and it shall stand forever. So then we know in this context also that this statue in the fourth kingdom is inclusive of all the kingdoms on the face of the earth, which will be consumed by God's everlasting kingdom. Who are the elements in the consummation? You are. You're all over the earth. You are all over the earth. Can you not see that? You're all over the earth. You who house the truth and who said yes to Christ, you're in every single nation. My. For as much as thou sawest the stone that was cut out of a mountain without hands, and that it brake in pieces the iron, brass, clay, the silver, the gold, the great God hath made known to the king what shall come to pass hereafter. And the dream is certain, and the interpretation thereof sure. This fourth kingdom is the entire world. Can you see that? The fourth kingdom has many kings. Can you see that? Now I'm going to show you something here about this fourth kingdom. The fourth kingdom exists because it says, in the days of these kings shall the God of heaven set up a kingdom. That kingdom was set up with who? Christ. Christ said this, I go to prepare a place for you. If it were not so, I wouldn't have told you. Huh? The apostles said the kingdom of God comes without observation. No one's going to say, here it is, or lo, there it is. But the kingdom of God is within you. And I'm telling you, you're all over the face of the earth. And God is setting up an everlasting kingdom inside of you on the face of this earth that will consume and break into pieces all these other kingdoms. My. See, you thought you were just here, twiddling your thumbs, being a prey for all the kingdoms of earth and the kings and the wrongful things. Wrong. Now I had to read something to you. We have to go back here. The fourth kingdom. It concerns the beast and the dragon. Do you know the dragon looks just like the beast? Why? Because the dragon is a kingdom. That's why he is called the prince of the world. The prince of the world. The prince of the world who has no power over the saints. The prince of the world who's cast to earth. What does he do? I'll tell you what he does. Revelation 13:2 describes a beast that looks just like the dragon. And because Satan has been dethroned and lost the war in heaven at the time of the cross, listen to what it says. And the dragon gave the beast, it's talking about the beast, gave him his power, his seat, and his great authority. Satan's rule, the architecture of the dragon, he handed over to the beast, the physical beast that came from the people that is in the earth, the fourth kingdom. That's what he did. Now, why did he hand over his power, seat, and great authority? I'll tell you why. Because he could do nothing himself. He can do a thing himself. Why did he have a power and seat and great authority? That's when you read the temptations of Christ. When Satan said, you see these kingdoms, he showed Christ all the kingdoms in a moment of time. And he specifically said to Christ, he didn't lie, he said, all these kingdoms are given to me. I can give them to whomever I want. I'll give them to you if you bow down and worship me. That's what he told Christ. Jesus, when he was about to die on the cross, he said, the prince of this world cometh, and he hath nothing in me. It was time for his judgment. That's when he was booted out of heaven. That's when he lost his eternity. And then it was stated, woe unto the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea. For Satan has come down to you. And he was angry. He was mad. Great wrath. So what does he do? He begins to construct. At the time of his falling, he constructs a system just like he is. And he hands over his architecture, the dragon, that architecture. He built a model, a replica of himself in the earth out of the people, influencing them. Right? He built them in his own image that he may hand over his power, his seat, and his great authority. Is what he did. He called them out of his own kingdoms on earth. But because he was dethroned, he lost his power. So he hands over his power to whom? Mankind. Mankind. You see, he grabbed the minds of mankind first. Because mankind has been killing mankind. By many means. Experiments, war, oppression, finances. By many means, men do kill men. They have never, ever found a solution for peaceful living, and they never will. It's an illusion. So Satan hands over his power, seat, and great authority to the system he has built in the earth called mankind in their mindsets. Right? So then the first beast is the system of earth with the power, seat, and great authority of Satan. Do you understand now? The first beast in Revelation 13:2. Satan made something in his image after his likeness in the earth and handed over to it. It says Satan gave him his power, his seat, and his great authority. You see, because of Christ, Satan lost his power. So he hands over that stuff to mankind, and he constantly influences and inspires their minds in his kingdoms. Which is why God said to love this world is to have enmity with God. Why? Because Satan is still the prince of this world. And if you love the world, you love those things of the dragon. because he is the one of which these kingdoms of earth, this fourth kingdom, belongs to him. And it has rule and dominion over the face of the whole earth. Right? The second beast that comes out of the land, not out of the people, because the sea is the many peoples of earth and the nations and the tongues and languages. But the beast that comes out of the land is the one that ascends out of the bottomless pit. And he has two horns like a lamb, which represents a religious figure, a supernatural religious figure. What is a religious figure? Someone who represents a deity. So he has two horns like a lamb, but he speaks as a dragon. That was emphasized to let you know this guy carries a supernatural force with him, a religion with him, a belief in him. He is able to do things the first beast could not do. He is the embodiment, and he comes out of the bottomless pit. And he is the one that causes the mark. He is the one that causes humanity to make an image to the first beast who had the deadly wound and was healed. He is the one that worships a God his fathers knew not. He is the one that increases these images he inspired mankind to build with gold and silver and precious things and everything else. He is the one that magnifies himself above all that is called God. He is the one that stands in the holy place where he ought not be. He is the abomination of desolation. He is the abomination that makes it desolate. He is the one that tramples Jerusalem underfoot for 40 and 2 months. He is the one that has indignation against the Holy Covenant. And he is the one that taught the rest of those nations who had indignation against the Holy Covenant to join in an affiliation and trample Jerusalem underfoot. And they were given power to overcome the saints of the Most High in Jerusalem, or they couldn't trample Jerusalem 40 and 2 months. That's why he was given power to wear out the saints of the Most High, or he could never step foot in Jerusalem. It wouldn't work. Why? God had to give this guy power because you have more power than he does. Then we're going to go back, now that you have that, we're going to go back to Revelation 18. And after these things, I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power. And the earth was lightened with his glory, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become a habitation of devils, and a hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. For all the nations. Now, see, this is it. Listen. Babylon is fallen, but it says all, not some of the nations, not every nation but Babylon, but all the nations have drunk of the wine of wrath of her fornication. Now, wouldn't that take, now it says all the nations. None were exempted. So let's read it this way. If it's all the nations, so let's say this. For the earth has drunk the wine of wrath of her fornication. And the kings of the earth, not the kings of a specific nation, the kings of the earth, all of them in the earth, have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. They have become powerful through her. The abundance of her delicacies. Delicacies is not a good word here. Delicacy in this context is the offspring of sin. Through her sin, the world has been made rich. The kings of the earth have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have drunk the wine of the wrath of her fornication. The kings of the earth have ingested the wrath of God. You see, the wine of wrath of her fornication is God's wrath against her. Do you understand now? This is Revelation 18:3. And most people will not point this out. All nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. Well, what is that? That's God's wrath against her fornication. Now, why would God have wrath against her fornication? Because he promised never to turn away, but to store up that wrath for the end time against her. Because through her, sin entered into this world. Oh yes, through her, sin entered into this world and corrupted the kings of the earth. If sin had never entered into the world, no kings would be corrupted. The abundance of her delicacies were sin on top of sin that happened through fornication with other belief systems. It is, in fact, the great error in the earth. So you can't think physical. Because Babylon has rule over all the earth, doesn't it? Babylon is used here, and it's telling you what Babylon is. It was described what the beast was. It was described that the beast, this beast that she rides, hates the woman. This beast, who is the fourth kingdom on this earth, hates the woman that sits atop her. What sits atop the kings of the earth? Folks, this is punishment. This is kaput day. That's what this is. Listen, the beast. Now we have to read this again to refresh your memory. Can I do this? Revelation 17:15. And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are the peoples and multitudes and nations and tongues. Where does she sit? On the water. What is the beast? The beast are the many peoples of earth and the nations of earth. The beast is the fourth kingdom. The fourth kingdom is inclusive with all kingdoms on the face of the earth, given dominion. Satan gives that first beast his power-seeking great authority. Right? This woman is sitting atop the beast. She's sitting atop the people because the people are the beast. Uh-oh, now we're getting somewhere. The people are the beast. Right? And he saith unto me, the waters which thou sawest, where the whore sitteth, are the peoples, plural, and the multitudes, plural, and the nations, plural, and the tongues, plural. And the 10 horns which thou sawest upon the beast, these shall hate the whore. They hate her, and shall make her desolate and naked, and shall eat her flesh and burn her with fire. Are you beginning to see? For God hath put it in their hearts. Whose hearts? The kings of this beast system. God has put it in their hearts to fulfill his will and to agree and give their kingdom unto the beast, until the words of God should be fulfilled. What are those words of God? The words that were spoken in Jeremiah. That is the indignation. That's where it began. That's where it was spoken. Israel was exiled where? Into Babylon, wasn't she? My goodness, why was Israel exiled into Babylon? Because of her whoredoms. That's why. Because of her whoredoms. That's why. Hold on, folks. Let me change this doohickey over here. All right, that did work. Okay, guys, you're still with me there. Don't lose me. Everything is trying to go kapoofy here. It won't go poof. So, do you guys understand that? Anybody lost right now? Nobody should be lost. Right? Can't stand this woman. They're gonna burn her flesh. They're gonna burn her up. Is what they're gonna do. So, but here's what you don't know. Now we're going to read the description of what happens, because we just read that every foul bird, for all the nations have drunk the wine of wrath of her fornication. Right? And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. How can the kings of the earth commit fornication with her? You do that through intimacy. They were intimate with her. Well, who is she? She is the way that God set his wrath against, and all who partake of that way shall suffer his wrath. See, Babylon is not quite what you thought it was, but it was born in the place that all people know. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Well, the merchants of the earth are rich through deceit, not through honesty, aren't they? And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people." Now, first of all, what are God's people doing in her when God's people are all over the earth? Because again, the fourth kingdom is the entire earth. This woman, see, why is she sitting atop the beast, and why do they hate her? Why do they hate her? See, this is where you're about to get something here. They don't like her, they hate her, but she rides atop the beast. The beast can't stand this woman because they're going to kill her. But through her error, the beast profits. But they're going to kill her because the wrath of God comes because of her. Right? Only one place fits this, and that is the original of God's people. It has nothing to do with what most people think it has to do with. It says all the nations. Listen, a lot of people say, well, that's the USA. No, the USA is one of the nations of the world. This woman is different than all the nations of the world. Babylon is different than all the nations of the world, because what we have done was we saw the fourth kingdom, Babylon. But this woman is mystery Babylon, right? And she's going to fall. Let me give you a hint before I go any further. Before the everlasting kingdom comes in and subdues all the rest of the kingdoms and stamps them into pieces, sin will be undone. Sin will be destroyed from the face of the earth. The only one we read in Revelation as being destroyed is this woman. And then everything changes going forward. The woman is destroyed. Because listen, through sin, the kings of the earth are made rich. Now I'm giving you a hint. It is through sin that the earth operates like it does. And when this woman is destroyed, the kingdom of the beast will be in darkness. Now, let's continue to read here. Right? And I heard another voice from heaven saying, "Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins." Oh, there it is. She's a sinful place. "Come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and the God hath remembered her iniquities." Now, wait a minute. God hath remembered her iniquities? Where did we hear this from? Jeremiah, Ezekiel, and Isaiah. Isaiah 5, purging his vineyard because of the iniquities that were in her. But it is a spiritual place. It is a condition. It is a condition. Now listen, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works, in the cup which she hath filled. What she had filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself. What is this, woman? It is a hidden place. It is a true place that surely does reign over the kings of the earth. She did glorify herself and live deliciously. So much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and I am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine. And she shall be utterly burned with fire. For strong is the Lord who judgeth her. Why is the Lord judging her? What will the Lord do? Well, he already said it. The Lord said he would judge the nations, didn't he? Jerusalem will become a cup of trembling, but not before they are purged. What will God purge from Jerusalem? Her sin. Her sin will be purged in Jerusalem. What is sin? Is sin physical or spiritual? Sin is a mindset. It is a product of an influence of darkness itself. When one enters into sin, they enter into death. And verse 9, Revelation 18, verse 9, and the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, they lived with her. The kings of the earth lived with her, shall bewail her. Uh-oh, listen. Now I can make it plain for you. God is going to destroy sin off the face of this earth, off the face of his earth. There will be no more dominion and rule of Babylon. And Mystery Babylon, wouldn't that be the mindset? The very mindset of that kingdom. Isn't it the mindset that has rule over the entire face of the earth? Isn't it the mindset that gathers nations together to do things? Why does mankind worship the rule of law? Yes, they do worship the rule of law, not God's laws, their own rules. Can you see what's happening here? They lived deliciously with her, and shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning. The burning is the great fire promised to come. See, you may not know this, but Isaiah 5 yields a truth to all of us. When the trampling underfoot of Jerusalem happens, in that same moment they are trampled underfoot, God will be purging sin from the face of the earth, making it known. Everything changes when that takes place. Standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, alas, alas, the great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Now God already said, come out of her, my people. Wherever you are, come out of her, my people. Well, it just so happens God's people are all over the face of the earth. And he's saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins. If she is the influence over nations, and if Jesus said to love this world is to have enmity with God, and he also said the carnal mind is enmity against God, and that you cannot love both God and mammon, he's telling us something. Come out of the world. How do you come out of the world? You come out of the mindset of the world. Right? Even that delusion God will send that they would believe a lie is because they had pleasure in unrighteousness. Listen to me. Babylon is not righteousness. Babylon is unrighteousness. Satan is unrighteousness. Satan gave the beast his power-seeking great authority. Babylon will be destroyed. And when sin is destroyed, all men know truth. See, this is what you have to understand, so let's continue to read because I'm running out of time. Listen. Standing afar off for fear for torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city, that mighty city, for in 1 hour thy judgment is come. Right? In 1 hour thy judgment is come. And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her. That's not people with shipping containers. You know why people are made rich in the earth? Huh? Do you know why? Because people get away with horrific sins. That's why. You said it yourself. It looks like those who sin are being rewarded. The merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more. Uh-oh. something happened to man's conscience. Listen, the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and pearls and fine linen and purple silk and scarlet and all thy wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of the most precious wood and of brass and iron, marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense, good grief, and wine and everything they had. And the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee. Listen. Revelation 18:14 just describes the heart of her merchandise. And the fruits that thy soul, not your flesh, your soul lusteth after is departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, shall stand afar off for fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, alas, alas. Now they're not happy. They're devastated, like they expected it. Finally, that great city was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet. There that purple and scarlet is again. And decked with gold and precious stones and pearls. There it is again. Consequently, we'll have to go over this. Purple means something. Scarlet means something. Fine linen means something. The gold means something. That term precious stones means something. Pearls means something. For in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught. Right? The wages of sin is death. All things that are not of God will come to nothing. These things were already written. We just have to study correctly. For in 1 hour so great riches are come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many as trade by sea, stood afar off, and cried, when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, the great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour is she made desolate. Now I can tell you this, listen, if America blew up, the nations will say, oh, goody, goody gumdrops. It would be a national celebration, not fear. I'm just telling you the truth. You know and I know that if America caught on fire, the world will be fine. We don't do anything but trade information and manage everybody else's resources. If America blew up, they would have a global celebration saying, oh, the sheriff is dead. Now we can do what we want to do. That's what they would do. They would not cry or do anything else. There's a reason we have to have our military all over the earth, because if we turn our backs, we're going to get stabbed in the back. I hear so many people saying this is America. No, you must discern the word of God spiritually. See, people are trying to understand this by flesh so they don't have to rely upon revelation from the Lord. People will celebrate big time if something happens to America. We didn't even learn the lesson. They tried to make you think something on the news. I remember when the stock market began to go kablooky-blooky over here in America during the housing bubble. Nations were ready to kick the dollar aside. And then they stopped showing all those stories. Nations were ready, oh, let's just do away with it. That worthless dollar. Are we that deceived in this place that we are we so prideful that we really truly believe that somehow the world needs us? No, that's our propaganda. They don't need us. They would do better without us. I'm telling the truth. And to be honest with you, that's why there's some people who say, hey, we need to start making things again. What does America make? What do we make? I'll tell you what we make. We make points about what everybody else makes. That's what we do. It takes somebody cutting off their leg to get us to go get our own resources sitting underneath America. Well, no, we don't want We don't want to get our own resources. We want to get theirs. We can't manage our stuff now. We have to manage somebody else's. We're in everybody else's business. If something happens to America, people will say, goody, goody gumdrops, and you know it. But that's not what they're doing here. Why are they weeping and wailing? I'll tell you why. Something was removed that allowed them to work. See, listen to me. In order to do a deceitful thing, you must do so with the mindset that you can do it. But if sin were to ever be removed from the face of the earth, truth would be left. And if only truth was left, guess what? People would say, oh, my Lord, have mercy. I am in trouble. It's over. I can't do anything. See, if only truth is left, then you find out what you've been doing. And when you find out what you've been doing, guess what? You're going to weep and wail. Your way will be destroyed. You cannot live your life the way you live it now if all sin is removed and there's only truth left. You would have to make adjustments in your life. You could no longer be a rich person because you would find out the oppression it's connected to. Knowing that, you couldn't do anything. So your merchandise would fail you too. Let's continue to read. 18, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, what city is like unto this great city? And they cast dust on their heads, and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, alas, alas, the great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea, by reason of her costliness. For in 1 hour she is made desolate. Rejoice over her, thou heaven. What? The heavens are rejoicing over her? You better believe it. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her that give away. Here, I'm going to stop right there for tonight. Revelation 18:20 tells you exactly who she is. How she is who she is, well, you have to study some more, because in her was found the blood of the prophets. Listen, God hath avenged the prophets and the apostles. Now, we know, listen, all the prophets came before Christ died. Just so you know. Just so you know. Because now the Holy Spirit is given, and everybody can have the gift of prophecy if they so ask for it and believe in Christ. So who are we talking about? Where did they die? Who killed the prophets? O Jerusalem, Jerusalem. O Jerusalem, who kills the prophets. What? Jerusalem? Yes. Now you take Revelation 18:20, and there's an aspect of Jerusalem, a certain type of mindset in Jerusalem that killed the prophets. You see, if you say Jerusalem killed the prophets, you're talking like Jerusalem is a person. Jerusalem is not a person. It was the kingship in Jerusalem that ordered the killing of the prophets. Do you understand? It was the Spirit hovering over Jerusalem. And how did that Spirit enter? Because the priests fornicated with other religions and changed everything. They didn't even recognize Jesus Christ when he came. You see, there are those there that say they are Jews and they are not. They are the synagogue of Satan. Now are you beginning to get it? Mystery Babylon is the fallen condition of Jerusalem. It is the fallen condition of Jerusalem that sits as a queen. It's been in a fallen condition for a very long time, and the end is coming for that fallen condition. And when it is purged, and after it is purged, all the nations of the world are going to have to face the truth. Because God will look down and he will look down upon his land. He'll pity the people. And at that point, Jerusalem will become a cup of trembling. And men will run in horror. But they cannot escape the hand of God. Because through Jerusalem, sin has run rampant on the face of the earth. Are you beginning to see? My. Why is the name Babylon used? Because of her rulership. Because of what is established through her fornication. Because of what operates in the world now. Because of her mindset. In the time of Christ, if everyone there had accepted Jesus Christ, the end would have come that day. Sin abounds because they reject, and you've been called. When they are judged, it's over. God blinded them that you may receive. But the day they see after they're purged, it's all over. I hope you understand that. Mystery Babylon is the fallen Jerusalem. The same fallen Jerusalem that the Lord speaks of in Jeremiah, that he speaks of all throughout the Bible. It is the same place in Isaiah 5, the purging of the vineyard, his beloved vineyard. That was supposed to bring forth grapes, but it brought forth wild grapes. And he will judge that place. And he is the one that put in the hearts of the kings to agree and to give their kingdom to the beast for 1 hour to fulfill his will. And it's forming. And many are not taking notice. My. He will come quickly. I pray you're ready. The pieces are set. Judgment will come. And men will cry and weep from fear. Because it was already prophesied that those who set their hearts against Jerusalem, they will have massive fear. You see this in Revelation 18, the same thing. Things melting, their eyeballs melting out of their sockets. Statements like that is what will happen to them. Jerusalem will be purged. The fallen Jerusalem will be judged and destroyed forever. Thus there will be a new Jerusalem. Inbound, the everlasting kingdom is on its way. And it resides within you, and it's all over the face of the earth. But the kings of the earth and the people and the multitude, tongues and nations stand against you because they are the beast. And it is because of a fallen Jerusalem they can operate. But it shall be removed, and judgment shall come. It shall. I want to say God bless everybody. I will likely join everybody tomorrow. God bless you all greatly. Continue to edify your brothers and sisters in truth. And seek revelation from the Lord that you understand. Listen, the Lord will lead us. With the Spirit he gives us, he'll lead us into all truth. We don't have to have a theory anymore. We can have the truth through God's revelation. God bless each and every one of you.